What's up, guys? Happy Friday afternoon. It's August 6th, 2021. A little bit of a late start. That's because I've been kind of on pins and needles, not knowing if I should even go live. If you guys follow me on Twitter, I mentioned it 20 minutes ago. Man, in the middle of the night last night, we had a pipe bust under the kitchen sink here. Took a couple hours before emergency maintenance could get here, but in those hours, a lot of water spewed into the kitchen floor, the sub cabinet. It was bad. It was all bad. Finally, guy gets here. We're able to shut the water off. He asked me what time is good for him to come back to fix it. We agreed on 11 a.m. and it's 2 p.m. and no one's here. And I vividly, specifically told him I had obligations at 2 p.m. So it would just be my luck, I guess, for them to show up now while I actually have stuff to do versus this morning. So I guess to foreshadow that, like if we have to interrupt in the middle of this stream or whatever, we'll be looking at that. But that's kind of annoying because, you know, the world's got to turn here. I got stuff to do. Can't sit around forever. So I'm going to try and get through this as fast as possible. That way, if I do have to dip, I've covered as much as I can. Hopefully, I won't have to. But we'll see, man. What's up, Dang Lazy Mofo? What up, Josh? I guess you're Josh A today. What up, Jay Ketchum? Doing all right? What up, Julian? How we doing, boys? Happy Friday. We've made it. Hopefully, you guys are ready to vibe out, have a super solid weekend, and hopefully we have a super solid night. of MLB DFS. Every team in the league plays today. We already got the Cubs game underway, but tonight, 14 games on the main slate. So we're going to dive into that, and I'll try and have a higher sense of urgency today than normal. But before we do that, we got a couple of bills to pay. RunDFS.com. That, of course, is the baby. That's the mothership. If you guys want access to the RunDFS.com MLB VIP spreadsheet, which we will be referencing throughout the duration of this research session, it is available at your fingertips behind the paywall at RunDFS.com. So if you go over there, get signed up, try a week pass. Week pass right now, I believe, is $20. That's the lowest the week pass will ever be in a fiscal year. That's because it's just baseball. It's not as intense of a grind as basketball, and then we'll have football in a month. So check it out. Hopefully you guys have been able to pick up a few things throughout these streams, and you can understand the navigational system of the spreadsheet. It's been pretty rock solid. It's not just for DFS. It's really just to research baseball. We do include the DraftKings and Fanduel pricing, but we also have like a K predictor model and stuff like that, home run detection that you could take to your sports books, to stuff like that, and to stuff like PrizePicks.com. If you haven't signed up for PrizePicks yet, you want to show some love to me, PrizePicks.com. Use promo code GUNDACKER when you do so. That'll let them know I sent you, and then of course you get up to $100 instant deposit bonus when you do sign up. What up, Sean? Anyway, like I said, we could be interrupted any moment during this stream, so let's go ahead and knock out what we can knock out and get underway. Opening up the spreadsheet, Phillies hosting the Mets. First game on the docket. Mets got Marcus Stroman on the bump with Kyle Gibson for the Phillies. 4.7 implied run total for the Mets. Phillies sitting on 4.9. So Phillies a slight home favorite. Not a ton of appeal in either pitcher from a fantasy ceiling standpoint. Marcus Stroman, a 23% K rate to righties this season against lefties, 17.5%. He's a good real-life pitcher. Fantasy comes with some question marks. 3.6 xFIP essentially to both sides of the plate. Keeping the ball on the ground with a 4.46 expected ERA. So he's one of those guys, if he hits the middle to back end of a player pool, I wouldn't push back. But at 9K, he's definitely not one of my most sought after or high ceiling guys. If I wanted to pick on him specifically, there's not weaknesses in terms of hunting for power. And I do believe hunting for power is probably the way I'm going to approach a 14 game slate, just because there's going to be a lot of numbers that match up just well. But it just kind of exists, right? If Stroman gets 20, I feel like in the grand scheme of a 14 game slate, 20 at 9K is somewhat unappealing, and it's not really a common range of outcomes for him. He's dropped single digits in 3 of his last 4 games, and only one of those games did he allow more than 2 earned runs. So as a real-life pitcher, he's getting the job done. He's eating innings, but it's not a consistent ceiling. He did get to 34 DKP against Cincinnati. That's going to happen here and there, so that's why I wouldn't have 0% Stroman, but he can't be a priority play for me because of the lack of consistency and the median range outcome being maybe 10 DKP on a good day. The Phillies lineup is pretty solid, offers a lot of power. Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto, Rhys Hoskins, all guys I would be a little bit fearful of today for Stroman's matchup, and Harper's been on fire. Kyle Gibson pitching for the Phillies today. He's got a 3.83 xFIP to righties, a 4.61 xFIP to lefties. His numbers have been pretty Globe Life favorable, and now he's out of Globe Life. He's going to be pitching in Citizens Bank Park. He's 7,400 on DraftKings, so if you think this matchup gives him a shot at 14 DKP, maybe he makes the back end of a player pool. But again, not somebody giving me the warm and fuzzies early on, and I hate that his weaknesses are his splits to lefties, 4.61 xFIP to lefties, 18% K rate to lefties. And the Mets are going to come out with a bunch of pretty talented lefties: Brandon Nimmo, Jeff McNeil, Dom Smith, Michael Conforto, all guys to kind of be fearful of. So I really don't smell a bunch of upside in either pitcher here, and for that reason, I'm out. If I can go Shark Tank on him. Stack-wise, I don't think I'm getting to stacking this game. I'm just kind of cherry-picking bats here, and I don't have a deep vested interest in either pitcher. And now we'll move on to the next game. Yankees hosting the Mariners. Mariners throwing Marco Gonzalez up against Juan De Peralta. Peralta coming back from the COVID list. And Marco Gonzalez, man, he is a fly ball pitcher, and he'll allow some homers. Against righties, a 309 average allowed, 236 home run per nine. He's also allowed an elevated home run per nine to lefties, 164. That's incredible because Anthony Rizzo can hit lefties just as well, if not better than righties, and Joey Gallo has shown pop to both sides of the plate, hitting 2 doubles off of lefties yesterday. So there is a lot to love about the death row section of this Yankees lineup. Judge, Rizzo, Stanton, Gallo are definitely at the top for me, but I wouldn't leave out a DJ LeMahieu, Gleyber Torres. It sounds like the Yankees have become the apple of this slate's eye. I saw a lot of adoration and love for him on Twitter, so I'm just assuming that we should project him to be one of the top owned stacks here, and I got absolutely no pushback. Marco Gonzalez complements a lot of the weaknesses of the Yankees offense, some of those ground ball hitting and strikeout guys. While he doesn't strike out a ton, and he allows an incredibly high fly ball rate. I mentioned on this morning's video that Giancarlo Stanton would be one of my favorite plays on the slate. It's because I just feel like he's a little bit underpriced for his power for this matchup to be better than a typical matchup. 3,600 on Fanduel, 4,200 on DraftKings, about $1,000 cheaper in salary on DraftKings than just about anyone else I want to play from the top end of the Yankees lineup. So I feel like there's some implied value there. So I'm taking it. So give me Stanton quite a bit. No Marco for me. Juan De Peralta is probably just going to be the front end of a bullpen game. Coming back from that COVID list, you really don't know if you're getting 1 inning, 2 inning, 3 innings from him. So I don't think I introduced him into my pitcher pool. If I wanted to stack some Mariners, I definitely wouldn't push back. I think the obvious plays, the Mitch Haniger, Kyle Seager, Ty France Lane is probably the most alluring for me. Maybe Abraham Toro gets into the mix. Peralta this season definitely hasn't had elite strikeout stuff to either side of the plate. xFIP's elevated, and the home run per nine to righties 209. So Mitch Haniger can be knocking on the board here, and 4.5 is our implied run total for the Mariners. So there's some juice there for them to have some level of success here. So I definitely wouldn't push back on some Mariners exposure if you can get them at a decent equity in your exposures. Move on to the next game. Orioles hosting the Rays. Ryan Yarbrough up against John Means, one of many. So far, the second of many southpaw battles in terms of starting pitchers. Yarbrough a lefty, Means a lefty. Yarbrough with a 4.56 xFIP to right-handed, hitting a 17.7% K rate, a 166 home run per nine to righties, and against lefties has been a lot more solid, a 3.5 xFIP, a 28% K rate, and the home run per nine under half. He does have an elevated line drive rate to lefties, 26%, but it really seems like you should isolate his right-handed splits or is stats allowed to righties. And then if we look at this Orioles lineup to push back against those splits, Austin Hayes, Trey Mancini, maybe some Ryan Mountcastle to kind of fit the need for that. And then, of course, Mancini being at the front end. He's 3,200 on FanDuel. Definitely don't mind getting to that. John Means on DraftKings, he has a 4.25 xFIP to right-handed hitting and a 5.2 to lefties. The Rays announced that Randy Arozarena would be on the COVID protocol list, but they did get Jordan Luplow from I don't know if he was traded or got him from waivers from the Indians, but he could be right back in the mix, and he could slide into this leadoff spot, which makes this Rays lineup kind of fun. One of the things I like to do with some of these teams that play half their games in Extreme Pitchers Park, like the Rays doing Tropicana, is take advantage of when I can get them in an Extreme Hitters Park, because they kind of go under the radar because people, they don't attack their games for almost half the season. Well, Rays and Rays and Camden kind of fit that mold for me, especially with some of these new power righties that they've introduced to the mix, because prior to the All-Star break, a couple trades and call-ups, the Rays were one of the worst teams in the league against left-handed pitching, and they still have an elevated strikeout rate. So I do like if we get a lineup that looks similar to this projected lineup, Luplow, Franco, Nelson Cruz, Yandy Diaz, I do like taking some stabs at them to just take advantage of the park, take advantage of a beatable starting pitcher, and then a very beatable Orioles bullpen and a very beatable Orioles defense. So give me a little bit of raise here. 8,100 on Ryan Yarbrough. I don't really have a lot of love here. I feel like his better strikeout numbers are clearly against lefties, and Cedric Mullins may be the only lefty in this Orioles lineup to really dip into that. So the K rate and all that, really not something I want to target here. So just give me some bats from both sides. I don't think I get to either pitcher to start with. John Means, let me double check what his pitch count could be. 8,800, because there is still a world where the Rays are a high K team regardless, and John Means could have some decent stuff. 6 innings on the 31st, got 6 strikeouts, good 8,800, touch 20 DKP against the Rays. Yeah, maybe not a 0% range of outcome, but it's not a common one for me. So if I got to Means, it would have to be in really, really deep field tournaments where I have 100, 150, but 20 or less, or even 50 or less, I don't think he's an option for me. What up, Josh Jennings? Mouse in the chat. Got some Yarbrough and Tampa Bay signing up. Yeah, just kind of walking the fence, playing a little bit of both sides. The Blue Jays hosting the Red Sox. A big game here for AL East implications. That whole division's getting funky. And, rose-colored glasses wearing Yankee fans might believe that there's a run potentially to not only make the wild card, but heck, 5.5 games outside the division with, some Mariners baseball coming up, a couple series against the Rays and the Red Sox. I'm just saying, if the pieces fell into the right places, it's not an impossible mathematical outcome right now for the Yankees to take the division. Red Sox and the Blue Jays. What we want to see here is the Red Sox and the Rays take some L's. Alek Manoah pitching for the Blue Jays. Nathan Eovaldi for the Red Sox. Red Sox have an implied run total of just 4.1 and the Blue Jays at 5. Kind of an awkward spot, right? We feel like both pitchers above average plus pitchers versus, replacement level guys. And then both offenses really, really high octane and high upside. So you just kind of don't know what to do. You don't necessarily want to pick on Eovaldi, but you don't necessarily want to pitch against the Blue Jays and vice versa. So this is an MMEers kind of edge, right? You can kind of dabble and play several ranges of outcomes. I think Manoah at 9,400 does have much reason to be doubtful against a Red Sox lineup that can hurt you and also make you work. He has a 32% K rate to lefties so far this season, 27.3% against righties. The average is pretty low to both sides of the plate. He hasn't allowed an elevated home run per 9 to lefties, but you wonder if some of that might regress in Rogers Center versus some of the parks that they've had to play in prior to this. So far, so good. 3.07 expected ERA, a sub-1 whip, and a 29% K rate with a 13.6% swinging strike rate. If you took the name out and you took the matchup out, you just look at that overall advanced metric stat line right there, this guy looks like an ace, and you probably want to get some exposure to him. So you kind of have to numb yourself to the results here and understand that you're taking chances on talent. And I think we have to have, or I'll have to have some Manoah in my mix here, and I wouldn't have to likely get too egregious in the stake that I put in him, because I don't think he's going to get overly trendy in a spot against a team like the Red Sox. On the other side, conversely, Nathan Eovaldi, 3.35 xFIP against righties, 3.77 against lefties on the season, almost a 1-4 K rate to both sides, is allowing an elevated average to righties. You see enough talent in those numbers to expect a decent level of run prevention. Maybe the Blue Jays don't have that explosion game. They do have that implied run total of 5, but Nathan Eovaldi does look like he has some built-in stuff enough to maybe not reward a full stack. I got no pushback on still stacking the Blue Jays or even getting to a little bit Eovaldi, but like I said, it's one of those, make a decision spots, and I think the lazy way is say, oh, the pitchers are good, but the offenses are good. I don't know what happens. Well, something's got to happen, right? And the fade, the best case scenario for the fade is that both pitchers are super average and both offenses only put 2 or 3 runs, and it's easily avoidable, which is definitely a range of outcomes. But there's also probably a world where 20 plus DKP from Nathan Eovaldi is an option, maybe 20% of the time, and at 7,900, you probably take that. He got 20.6 DKP against the Blue Jays in 6.2 innings in his only start against them. So in multi-mass entry. Give me a little bit of both pitchers and a little taste of both offenses here, and I'm just kind of accepting the results, playing the leverage game versus the ownership projections. In short entry, I'm probably going to hope for the best somewhere else. Yeah, I know. Josh says Toronto got positive leverage today. They could heat the Sox up in Toronto. Wouldn't be surprised at all. I'm kind of rooting for that. I really want the Red Sox and the Rays to just start losing some games here. Yeah, the Blue Jays are neck and neck with the Yankees as well, but got to see some L's from people in front of you. But yeah, give me a little bit of both pitchers. Let's move on to the next game here. The Reds hosting the Pirates. JT Brubacher taking on Wade Miley. Pirates have an implied run total of 4.1. The Reds at 5.5. Reds are a minus 180 here. That probably doesn't make me move the needle on pitching Wade Miley at 8,200, right? You're kind of just hoping for him to eat some innings. Not really going to lean on that no-hitter for forever. So 18.2% K rate to righties for Miley, 21% K rate to lefties. It definitely looks like he has the metrics to not reward a stack here. We're not really in on the Pirates anyway, so I'm really just looking at this Reds offense. JT Brubacher has a little bit of strikeout stuff, a little bit more than Will Crow yesterday, but he still suffers from the long ball. 183 home run per 9 to lefties, 193 to righties. I mentioned in this morning's video, the Reds seem like they're getting really, really close to activating Mike Moustakas. I haven't seen anything that it might be today, but I did read that it sounds like he played his last rehab stint in the minors, and it could be today, it could be tomorrow to see him back in the mix. And just think about how solid this Reds lineup has been, especially at home lately. If you get the Moose, if the Moose is loose back in this lineup here, it could be a really, really fun stack. I just generally like stacking the Reds at home. Great American Ballpark, one of the most DFS-friendly parks that you can think of when it comes to projecting offenses, and the way offenses do succeed in this park is by the long ball. The Great American Ballpark is a top park in the league for homers. Jonathan India, Nick Castellanos, Joey Votto at the top of my interest for the Reds here, and then I don't mind shuffling the deck of cards, getting some Winker, getting some Eugenio Suarez, guys like that. So Reds are absolutely one of my sought-after stacks here. Wade Miley doesn't allow much in lieu of homers. Elevated line drive rate here, or excuse me, an elevated ground ball rate overall. He does have a 20+% line drive rate to righties. You don't really get out of bed on a 14-game slate to go crazy with the Pirates, but much like the Rays, they do get the benefit of a super plus hitters park versus their typical park PNC. Maybe a guy like Ke'Bryan Hayes, John Nogowski, Brian Reynolds, they kind of stun you here. Ke'Bryan Hayes, the only guy with a 200+ ISO against left-handed pitching since the beginning of last year, but then it falls off a cliff, and you're really not that enamored or that excited with much. So I'm going to be really, really on the cherry pick side for the Pirates. Let them fall into the player pool. I don't know that I'm committing equity to full stack in the Pirates as of now, but definitely on the Reds. Let's get caught up on chat before we move on. The Josh clan is here. Yeah, we got at least 3 Joshes now. I think there's 4 or 5 of y'all in total that float around, man. This is I don't know. It's like, you know how Goose is a gaggle? I don't know what a grouping of Joshes are, but we definitely have it. Tigers at the Indians. Next game on the docket. Tigers did release a confirmed lineup. Akil Baddoo, Jonathan Scope, Harold Castro batting third. This might be the highest spot in his order all season. Miggy's batting cleanup. Jamer Candelario, Eric Haas, Victor Reyes is in the 7 spot. Willie Castro, Derek Hill, and that is your confirmed Tigers lineup. Matt Manning on the bump for the Tigers. He'll be up against Cal Quantrill. We got an implied run total 4.4 for the Tigers. Indians 5.2. Jose Ramirez took the night off yesterday. Should be back in the lineup today. Matt Manning, definitely somebody we could pick on. Looks like more so with righties. A 333 average allowed righties with a 189 home run per 9, 42% hard contact rate. But all the middle metrics aren't like gas canny, right? The ground ball rate higher than his fly ball and line drive rate, and he's throwing strikes to righties. Indians aren't going to be an appealing stack day to day, but if you wanted to get to a little bit of the power side to Jose Ramirez, Franmil Reyes, I'd probably allow those guys to be in my player pool. I just don't think I dedicate any equity out of 100, 150 to 5-man stack in the Indians. I say that with a little bit of hesitation and reservation because I do know the Tigers bullpen is amongst one of the worst in baseball, and maybe they can pay off a surprise stack here and there. So maybe if this lineup comes out with a surprise, I backdoor, I don't know, 4 or 5%. because like if I went into battle with Straw, Rosario, J-Rim, Franmil, like I wouldn't lose sleep about them necessarily kind of getting there against this pitching team. So on the snap call early, I don't think I'm getting to an Indian stack, but it's not impossible for them to kind of thrive here. Cal Quantrill, 0.81 home run per nine to righties so far this season, under one against lefties. Elevated average allowed 250 to 260 plus against both sides of the plate, and he's not striking out much, and he allows over 4.5 xFIP to both sides of the plate. I think Akil Baldu might offer a little bit of value, sub 4K on DraftKings in that leadoff spot. It's going to get maximum at bats here. Don't mind putting him in the player pool. Jonathan Scope, Miguel Cabrera, both guys I could also put in the mix here. And then Eric Haas is always a chip in a chair for power. I just prefer him almost greatly against lefties versus righties, but I wouldn't talk you off of him if you had him in the mix here. I talked about Mitch Garver earlier in the first look video. Probably still there on him being my favorite kind of points per dollar play here, but several bats you can check off in the back end of 100, 150 lineups. But in the front end, I don't think I prioritize much in this game. Let's get caught up on chat before we move on to the next game. James says, I got a feeling Brubacher shows up. Like I said, he's got more strikeout potential in him than we've seen in some of these other Pirates pitchers. So I would definitely concede it is a range of outcome for him to play spoiler a little bit. But the Reds, I mean, I can never not stack Reds in Great American Ballpark, right? Rolling with Manoah, Muller, and Marquez, the 3 M's. I like that. The Maniac, Matt Bourne, God rest his soul. What up, Shark? Doing all right? Been making full lineups of all leadoff hitters. I don't hate that in single entry. Matter of fact, I think that's, and even in cash games, like I love maximizing at bats, and if you can fit in leadoff hitters that are actually in good spots, right? Not just punt leadoff hitters. It makes a lot of sense, right? Give you some of the highest floor potential. Let's move on to the next game. Braves hosting the Nationals. Nationals have just a 3.8 implied run total. That's incredibly low. With Eric Fetty on the bump, he'll be up against Kyle Muller. The Braves have a 5.3 implied run total. Braves have been really, really nice on my over bets in the last couple days against that onslaught of average lefties from the St. Louis Cardinals. Now they're back at the house, some home cooking, sleeping in their own bed, and they get Eric Fetty. Fetty's been a really, really bad 4.57 xFIP to lefties, 3.8 to righties, a 288 average allowed to lefties, over a 1 home run per nine to both sides of the plate. Definitely somebody I can pick on. 4.78 expected ERA with a 1.38 WHIP and just a 7.9% swing and strike rate. The Braves, while we thought maybe they would be out of the picture, the NL East kind of got a lot more foggier, and even losing Ronald Acuna, them adding a couple of chip and chair power bats like Adam Duvall, Jorge Soler, and Jock Peterson really makes this a fun DFS team. Jock Peterson might lead off in this spot today against the righties. Seems like Ozzie Albies leads off against lefties, Jock Peterson against righties, and we know Jock is always a swing away from easily satisfying his price point on both sides. Sub 3K on Fanduel. I like this lane here, 1 through 3, Jock, Albies, and Freeman all get to bat lefty and take advantage of Eric Fetty's high average allowed to lefties and his high walk rate, maybe some OBP help here, and then of course Duvall, Jorge Soler, Austin Riley all kind of round out and correlate positively as perhaps picking up those ribbies. So give me the Brave stack for sure. They were one of the teams I wanted to spotlight this morning. And then we talked about Kyle Muller, 9,200 on DraftKings. Muller has been just about as consistent as his minor league numbers suggested he would be. He's a high strikeout potential guy with a lot of walks. Kind of reminds me of Francisco Liriano way back in the day as a kind of an unpredictable lefty, but there is a world where he thrives against lefties. So far, a 111 average allowed to lefties from the Department of Redundancy Department, 25% K rate, and then against righties, a 27% K rate with a 200 average allowed, and keeping the ball in the park, but it doesn't look like that's necessarily by design. He's got a really, really elevated fly ball rate so far, 46% to lefties, 50% to righties. So for him to have no homers to lefties and a sub 4 home run per nine, 0.4 home run per nine to righties seems a little bit more on the lucky side than the metric side. With that said, I understand wanting to get to him today. I do think he has a decent matchup with upside kind of built in for For strikeouts at 9,200, I'd like to know that 20 plus DKP is a reasonable range of outcome. I don't know that that is the case here, but I don't think it's worth not having, because I feel like the strikeout rate is high enough that he would be in the mix against this lineup, which outside of Juan Soto, Alcides Escobar, has an entire crew of guys striking out over 20%, and a lane here with Josh Bell, Yadi Hernandez, Carter Kieboom, and Luis Garcia striking out over 1 and 4. Plus, you get that pitcher spot. So, no, I understand the like for Kyle Muller today, who will be in my player pool, but I probably slide him into that tier 3 spot. I don't go necessarily too aggressive with ownership on him. No Eric Fetty for me. Let's get caught up on chat. Man, the Cleveland Stacks were fire a couple years ago, and now I really get to them. Dude, they really were. Plus, they were like full of switch hitters too. Darno and Rosario coming back in that lineup is scary. Is Travis Darno back in the mix today? I didn't see him in the projected lineup, but yeah, that's something to watch. Let's move on to the next game. Twins at the Astros. We did get a confirmed Twins lineup. Looks like it's going to be Max Kepler, Brent Rooker, Jorge Polanco, Josh Donaldson, Luis Ariz, Mitch Garver, Miguel Sano in the 7th spot, and Rob Refsnyder, former Yankee great, in the 8th spot. Angelton Simmons bringing up the rear in the 9 hole. This is a team that kind of stunned everybody last night, beating the Astros. Made you sweat at the end there. Had to get to their closer, Alex Colomé. But they got it done. And today they get up and face Zach Greinke. No confirmed Astros lineup yet. Astros a 5.4 implied run total. Almost a minus 200 favorite. About minus 196 at the moment. Twins throwing Bailey Ober. Bailey Ober has been pretty split heavy so far in his major league sample size. 5x xFIP to lefties, 3.17 to righties, a 30% K rate to righties with just a 21% to lefties, high average and high home run per now, 2 home run per 9 allowed to lefties, a 30% line drive rate, and everything is not what you want. Against righties, it's a little bit better, but he's still dipping with a little power to righties, a 1.8 home run per 9 to righties, and the fly ball and hard contact rate also pretty high. So you got to be kind of scared here, because you can neutralize that strikeout rate with this Astros team that doesn't really strike out at an extremely high clip. I am kind of curious to see if these numbers, his split so far in 47 innings of big league sample size, were they consistent with his minor league stuff, and did he even throw a ton in the minors? So give me just a second. We'll pull up his MILB.com card. Hopefully you guys aren't mad about how fast I'm talking. At the top of the show, I told you guys that I really don't know. I feel like any minute now I could be interrupted with the maintenance crew to fix this pipe. But in the minors, 9.1 innings against lefties, 222 average allowed, 13 strikeouts in those 9 innings, 6.2 innings against righties, 8 strikeouts, so over a strikeout per inning, no homers allowed, and the 1.5 and 1.2 ground out to air out ratio. So he did play as a ground ball pitcher in the minors, and his whip was pretty low as well. So looks like he might even get better. So it's kind of hard. Like, I don't want to pitch him today. Like, I don't really want to pick on the Astros, but it is something to watch for, because it does look like we could project positive progression for him in the coming days. But let's talk about bats here, because I also don't think I want to get behind Greinke too much at 9,600. Just feels like a more expensive Marcus Stroman at this rate. So I'm just bat hunting here. I think the Astro stack is a very viable stack day to day. I do think the Twins bullpen is something that you're going to be able to exploit. And if Ober sustains these starting metrics, his numbers against lefties, there's no reason not to like Brantley, Yordan Alvarez, Kyle Tucker, and then Altuve is borderline matchup proof if he's on. Carlos Correa had a day off yesterday after homering in that Dodgers series, and then Yuli Gurriel was questionable yesterday. He's questionable again today, and we saw Chas McCormick get an opportunity to bat second yesterday. So I'm in on the Astro stack, betting on talent here, betting on these splits to sustain, then of course betting on the Twins bullpen. Now let's talk about Zach Greinke and what I want to pick on. I highlighted Mitch Garver this morning. I think Mitch Garver is a little bit too cheap on both sides. I was hoping to get a better spot than the 6 hole in the lineup, but 2,700 on Fanduel, 3,700 on DraftKings, very much affordable and easy to fit in. All of his Power metrics lined up extremely well in this spot against Greinke. Greinke, a 287 average allowed to righties, a 197 home run per 9 allowed to righties, over 26% line drive rate, and the fly ball rate's elevated as well. The bomb detector spit out him as, I believe, the number 3 highest rating on the day with sustainable sample size. Yes, number 3. So I like Mitch Garver quite a bit, and I also like the idea of looking at him on Fanduel at 2,700. I say it all the time. No one plays catchers by choice generally on Fanduel unless it's your really, really high end guys, the power bats. So I think Garver fits and fills a nice need here. And I don't know that we could get behind stacking Twins with a high level of confidence. But they definitely perform pretty well, or at least this lineup looks like it could project pretty well for power against righties. Rooker has a 367 ISO against righties. That's very much so going to fall, but at least a sign that so far so good. His downside has been the 29% K rate. We might be able to neutralize that by 10% looking at Greinke's 18% K rate to righties, and then Garver and Miguel Sano, other guys with 30+% K rates to righties. And here's a spot where they're more likely to make contact with the ball off of Greinke's hand than not. And then Polanco, Jorge Polanco has been really rock solid for them, both offensively and defensively. So I don't mind putting him in the mix. I don't want to talk myself into a circle here and end up on the Twins, but I understand it. And look at Polanco's price, 3,800 on DraftKings, and he's been super solid, averaging double digits essentially in his last 10 games. I'll take that all day long, all day strong from a switch hitter in the heart of it. So I actually will get to some Twins here. I also might be a little bit privy to the Twins over 3.5. I got them at 3.8 right now. So if you can get 4 runs to kind of get you there over the top for the Twins, I'll take it. I don't mind that at all. And then so give me bats from both sides of this game. I don't think I'm getting the pitchers. Let's get caught up on chat before we move on. Justin Sports, what's the chalk pitching pairing? That's a great question. I'll tell you what, I've seen a lot of people bring up German Marquez so far today. I don't know that he's going to end up being chalk, but I don't know that he's not going to be low owned. Sandoval, at least AKs is minus 110 versus the Dodgers. Wow, that's crazy. What up, Eric Johnson? What up, sports fan? You doing all right? Last time I saw Puig was with Cleveland in that brawl. Yeah, I don't know if Puig, like some of these guys that you miss, like these obscure names, you might look the Olympic rosters up and see if they're over there, because I know I saw like Todd Frazier over there. I saw Masahiro Tanaka, like they got some ex-MLB guys, and since none of the main MLB guys can play in the Olympics, you might see some names that you missed. Maybe Yasiel Puig is playing for the Dominican Republic. I'm not sure if that's where he's from. Don't cancel me. Brewers hosting the Giants. Implied run total 3.7. Brewers 4.4. So I really like the pitching matchup in this one. Or Corbin Burns, he's self-explanatory. 38.8% K rate to righties, 34.4% K rate to lefties. He's been just amazing. He's one of the better pitchers in all of baseball, and definitely in a conversation for maybe that Cy Young in the NL if Jacob Degrom is done for the season at home this season. He's averaging just about 25 DKP. That's what you want, and I don't need to spend a lot of time to tell you that Corbin Burns is good. I will say that the Giants offense feels at least better than maybe the historic floating thoughts of the Giants is or was. A lot of high average, a lot of high ISO, and a mixture of high to low K rates. So I do think Corbin Burns will come with a little bit more risk than usual, but it's still probably moderate considering how good Corbin Burns is. So at 10K on DraftKings, he has every ability to be the highest scoring player on the slate, the highest scoring pitcher on the slate, but he also kind of needs to be at that pressure point, at that price point. So I'm in on Corbin Burns, but I would also probably get to hedging maybe like 2 to 4% Giant stacks in the back end of my player pool, but it's more so just in case all hell broke loose than anything else. If Burns came at like a high ownership. Logan Webb, he's also intriguing to me because he's turned it around this season as well. A 299 xFIP to lefties, a 319 to righties, almost a 1-4 K rate to both sides of the plate, allowing a higher average to lefties, but keeping the ball on the ground and in these parks. That line drive rate to lefties, A little alarming, 25.6%, but at 7,200, you feel like there's some value left, some meat on the bone left for him to thrive as an SP2 here. And if you'd settle on maybe 14 DKP, he could probably get that a decent amount of times against this lineup if you give him a shot at 6 innings. 14, 19, 13.7, you know what I'm saying? Like 14's right around his maybe his median in his last 10. Yeah, there's a 2.7, there's a 7.4, but a lot of teens here. So I don't hate throwing Logan Webb in the mix here, maybe capping him at 20%, and just kind of hoping I get that 14 out of him. Looking at this Brewers lineup, it can go any which way. A 28% K rate here out of Willie Adames, the pitcher spot, and then a lot of 1 and 5. So if I can get that 1 and 5 on a decent clip here, I'll get to some Logan Webb, and I'll be more invested in the pitching from this game than the offenses. A 3.4 implied run total for the Giants, 4.2 for the Brewers. So I'm just kind of leave it like that. We'll cherry pick the good guys for the opto to kind of slap around in our lineups, but I don't think I'm dedicating full stacks to either team here. And that's all I got to say about that. Solid picks. Puig is Cuban. Documentary on his defection was crazy. Yeah, my bad. There's a lot of crazy defection documentaries. I don't know if you guys ever heard the Jose Fernandez story where he tried to defect a few times, and on one of them, I think it was the one that he was successful. I think he saved his mom from drowning without knowing it was his mom. Right? Somebody just fell overboard and was in danger, and he just jumped out and saved her, and then it turned out to be his mom. Crazy story there, right? Eric says, I like the idea of playing Burns and Webb in the same lineup. I don't mind that. Throw a blanket over the win and hope for a pitcher's duel. I'm with that. Burns is almost 50% owned. Wow. I haven't looked at ownership projections yet. That is kind of up there for a 14-game slate. So at that ownership, I'd still be wanting in on that, but that makes me a little bit more privy to stacking Giants in the back end of 100, 150 for that just-in-case scenario, that crazy leverage opportunity, right? Josh says, who is Juan De Peralta? And his K-prop's only one. So Juan De Peralta was a bullpen piece for the Giants. I believe he was part of the Mike Tauchman trade between the Yankees and Giants a couple months back, and now he became one of those lefty specialists out of the bullpen for the Yankees. The Yankees lost 3 of their starters: Domingo Germán, Jordan Montgomery, Garrett Cole. So they're kind of filling in pitching. They called up Luis Gil from the minors to fill in 2 games ago. Yesterday, they started with Nestor Cortez, another desired bullpen arm, and today they're going to throw out Juan De Peralta. So 1 to 2 innings would probably be all that I would expect out of Peralta. He's also just coming off the COVID list. You never quite know how somebody is going to perform physically after that, but he wasn't really great anyway. So 1 strikeout probably just indicative of Vegas also kind of knowing that he's only going to go 1 or 2 innings. Behind him, you might get any combination of Chad Green, Lucas Licky, just everyone might have to play a role today and pitch in. But yeah, don't expect much inning-wise or pitch-wise out of Juan De Peralta. We're good? All right, let's move on to the next game. The Royals the Royals at the Cardinals. Josh with the super chat. What's your prediction for highest scoring Fanduel pitcher tonight? Thanks, man. It might be this one. I early this morning I was leaning between Wainwright and Wainwright and Chris Bassett. So let's talk about Wainwright since we're here. I appreciate that super chat, by the way. That is love. Mike Minor taking on Adam Wainwright. The Royals should be noted. They're an AL team going into an NL park, not just any NL park, but one of the more pitcher-friendly parks in all of baseball. They have a 3.6 implied run total. The Cardinals 4.5. And then Adam Wainwright enters the chat. 9,500 on DraftKings, 9,700 on Fanduel. And the reason why I feel like he's even more Fanduel lucrative is his pitch count is great, but he gets there efficiently. 7 innings in his last 3 starts. At home this season, he's averaging 19 DKP, but the whip is incredible. He's not allowing a ton of power, and he can get some strikeouts in the right spot. And this is a Royals lineup that's going to offer potentially 4 guys with a 1 and 4 K rate plus the pitcher. And AL pitchers are more likely to strike out than anyone. So this could be a plus spot as long as he doesn't end up wasting pitches for the Whit Merrifields, the Santanas, guys like that don't strike out a ton. Wainwright on the season, a 1-4 K rate to righty. Let's go home. Let's go home. Wainwright, a 1-4 K rate to righty so far this season, a 3.48 xFIP, really solid. And then at home overall has a 23% K rate, 211 average allowed, an under 1 home run per 9, and a under 5% walk rate, meaning he's throwing strikes. He has a 22.4% called strike rate, so he's throwing strikes. He's purposely trying to get ahead of counts or not waste pitches, which is why I think on Fanduel, when you get that bonus for the quality start and the win, a guy that can go 7 innings is a pretty fun spot to be in. Against Mike Minor, who, as an AL pitcher might get a quicker hook, but maybe a team like the Royals that really don't have a dog in the hunt anymore aren't that quick to yank him. Minor has a 4.49 xFIP to righties. It's key to focus on his righty splits today because the Cardinals could be entirely righty today. We saw Matt Carpenter in the lineup yesterday, but it still could be 9 guys batting from the right side. 22% K rate to righties, a 244 average allowed, and a 154 home run per 9 allowed with an elevated fly ball rate. So I'm not expecting the world out of the Cardinals. They have just a 4.5 implied run total, but I do think Wainwright has a lot of bullets in the chamber to fire off. The other guy I would probably be looking at is Chris Bassett, kind of the same thing. You can expect him to go deep. He gets a porous matchup, Super Plus Pitchers Park. Maybe Chris Bassett wins the strikeout edge battle, but I like those guys for a little bit of an elevated floor to ceiling ratio. And then we can get a little bit more freaky when it comes to mid-tier, Wayno looks nice. Just wish Royals Cade more. Yeah, I'm with that. Thoughts on Minor under the as like a back end pitcher at 7,800. Yeah, I mean Cardinals on paper look like a team that should just be melting left-handed pitching, but they really haven't been that. They have a sub 100 WRC plus against lefties on the season, but you just think historically, man, Goldie, Arenado on the same team. You get Harrison Bader, his 270 ISO against lefties. Like, it really has not come together for them to be that onslaught team, but any given Sunday, chip in a chair. I don't know. I feel like I'm not getting to Minor a lot here, but it's one of those spots where if you had him in your back end here, I don't think that I would push back. It's just going to be a comfort call, right? You're really just looking for 2x value from the 7 to 8K guys. If you think Minor can get you that, go for it. Plus Park, definitely a fly ball guy against righties that could get some of those fly balls to fall shy into that warning track or whatever. The hard contact rate is really low for him this year versus last year. But yeah, you just might see a lot of fly outs. So I don't like. I'm not gonna push back if you're on it, but I would definitely have that be reserved as a gut call because there really is no telling on how consistent he can be in this spot. Yeah, no, man, we got 40 plus of y'all hanging. Yo, love, I appreciate that. Like I said, I was just trying to fire through this one as fast as possible at the risk of being interrupted by maintenance. Yeah, no. Let's move on to the next game. Marlins at the Rockies, Coors Field. Rockies 5.3 implied run total. Marlins 4.3. Sandy Alcantara taking on German Marquez. Two of the better pitchers you'll see in Coors Field this year. Alcantara is 8,700 on DraftKings. Marquez 8,400 on DraftKings. After I did my first look video this morning, I was working on content for the members only stuff for this channel, and I started digging deeper on German Marquez. I was like, man, I might get to some Marquez today. Marquez has been really rock solid at home, 8,400. I'm looking for 16 DKP. Well, guess what? He averages 18 DKP basically per game. Just like beautiful split, 18.6. That's so satisfying to have the exact same average on the road and at home. And generally speaking, you could argue that he's a better pitcher at home, a 3.55 xFIP at Coors Field this season, almost a 24% K rate, 206 average allowed, and a 0.47 home run per 9. Extreme ground ball guy at the house, keeping the hard contact low. And he's going to catch a Marlins lineup that is not great. Look at these strikeout rates. Jazz Chisholm against righties, 29%. Lewis Brinson, 31%. Jorge Alfaro, 33.6%. Alex Jackson, 37%. Alcantara, 71%. There's easily a way to paint this picture as Marquez being a rock-solid option in Coors Field, which is not something I often get to, but I think today I can. The only thing I got a little bit upset with is one of the comments on my video this morning was about Marquez, and then when I got in chat, a few of you guys mentioned Marquez. So either we're just a super sharp bubble, or that's a little bit more obvious than we want it to be. So I'm curious to see where his ownerships project and where they land on a 14-game slate. Does a Coors Field pitcher pick up 20% of steam? That might be something to watch. Is Alcantara in play as well? His strikeout numbers through right-handed hitters, 26% against lefties. It's dipped 7% from his 24% last year, but he keeps the ball on the ground. Would like to see that xFIP against lefties dip a little bit, but this is a high velo guy. So I don't I don't love pitchers that don't often pitch in the altitude, or definitely guys that call a park like Miami as their home park half their games. I don't like to dabble here, but Alcantara is a velo guy. Almost 98 miles an hour on his average fastball, sliders at 90 miles an hour as well, and a 92 mile an hour changeup. So it doesn't overly rely on breaking pitches, but I guess the slider and the changeup are breaking balls to an extent, and I do worry about guys like that, having to lean on some off speed, some breaking balls in the thin air of Coors Field. So I'm in a weird spot here because I'll never feel just like that warm and fuzzy of stacking the Rockies against a guy like Alcantara, and this bullpen's been pretty solid too. But I feel like I'm going to end up playing both sides. I feel like in 150, I'll open up a little bit of Alcantara, and then the Rockies, for what it's worth, have been producing offensively last couple games, but they've had matchups in which they should produce, whether it's like Arrieta, Alec Mills, contact guys like that. Today, Alcantara has a little bit more swing and miss stuff, a 12.2% swing and strike rate on the season, and just a 4.5% barrel rate. So I definitely could see the Rockies kind of be stifled here, and I could see this game being pretty low scoring. We got a 9.5 total in Coors. That almost never happens. So I'm in on playing both pitchers. I'm probably a little higher on Ramon Marquez than I should be. And then I guess Coors Field is Coors Field. Maybe on a Friday night you always get to a little bit of it, but we'll see. So what you guys got in chat here before we move on? Josh says Braves lineup kind of weird. Expected Jock to hit higher than 7th and Soler second versus a righty. I was also expecting Jock to lead off. We'll go back and update those. Solid picks. Which teams would you lean towards a 4-man stack on FanDuel? Yankees, Reds. I would say probably I was going to say Astros. I tell you what, man, I feel like I like the Twins more than I should. They got a couple positive matchups. Yankees, Reds, maybe the Twins. And that Rays lineup did come out. It's interesting. It's one of those weird nights where I don't love a lot of pitchers, but I don't love a lot of offenses. And the Braves. I was in on the Braves. Lineup did come out a little bit different, but I think I still stay there. So those are a couple teams for now. Let me revisit that question like completely in just a moment, right? Marquez is pretty chalky, though. That's what I'm scared. Like, that never happens, right? Coors Field chalk pitcher, but if that's the case tonight, I might be a little bit more hesitant. What up, Tyler Barb? I'm a Sandy fan today versus the Rockies, even though the game's at Coors. I like both pitchers for sure. I think Alcantara's stuff will play just about anywhere because he is such a dangerous velo guy. Rangers at the Athletics, next game on the docket. Yeah, Athletics could absolutely pay off a stack. Mike Foltynewicz taking on Chris Bassett. $4,900 for Mike Foltynewicz. Chris Bassett on the other end here. I want to focus on his home splits here. 3.79 xFIP at home. 200 average allowed, a 0.9 home run per night allowed. He's throwing strikes, walking out less than 5% of hitters, a 43% ground ball rate, and a hard contact rate dipping under 30%. From an environment standpoint, Oakland Coliseum will be one of the more pitcher plus matchups, or excuse me, one of the more pitcher plus environments that you could ask for today. The temperature's under 70 degrees, and against the Texas Rangers, he's had a good success rate against the Rangers so far this season. I think this morning he was averaging like 27, 28 DKP against them. Let me double check. Looking at splits. By the way, I love this tab. 3 games is averaging 24 DKP. So super solid average range outcome there. And then, of course, the plus side of him being at the house here against a Rangers lineup that maybe had Gallo back then, doesn't have Gallo now. That's kind of a double-edged sword because Gallo does have the strikeout rate. But this is a weak Rangers lineup. Only Adolis Garcia with a 200-plus ISO against righties since the beginning of last year. Nate Lowe coming in second with 178. And then it really gets bad. A lot of noodles, right? A lot of pool noodles being swung in terms of ISO, and a lot of sub 200 averages there. Not a ton of strikeouts through and through, but the guys that do strike out. And the guys that don't, you really, like, this might be the whitest bottom 4 names I've ever heard. It's I don't know why I just thought of that, but it's bad. So I'm in on Chris Bassett here at 9,800. We talked about maybe safe floor to ceiling plays on Fanduel. I think Chris Bassett, much like Adam Wainwright, kind of fits that bill for me. And Bassett maybe is a little bit of a stronger case for strikeouts. A 1-in-4 K rate, 18% call strike rate, and a 10.2% swinging strike rate. Bassett is somebody that can get us 7 innings of strong baseball. Went 7 in 3 of his last 4 games, including a game at the Texas Rangers. So I'm in on him. I think his bad game is probably like 18-20, and you don't love that at almost 10K. But I don't necessarily see him getting shelled here very often. So I'm in on Bassett. Not there on the Rangers. And then the Athletics. I think the Athletics profile extremely well against Fulte. Maybe the park kind of plays spoiler here, but Matt Olson's going to be number 2 on the bomb detector today at 4.5 bomb rating against Mike Foltynewicz, who is allowing a 293 average allowed to lefties, a 285 home run per 9, a 50% fly ball rate, and a 41.3% hard contact rate. That is literally what you want when you want to hunt some bombs here. So give me Matt Olson for a pick the stick call here, and then if you want to quantify that and expand on that, you can put those same splits to favor guys like Jed Lowry and Mitch Moreland if they crack the lineup, but it's huge for him. It's not like he's shutting down righties either. 239 home run per 9 to righties as well. Elevated fly ball, elevated hard contact rate, but not quite as bad as his problem against righties. Starling Marte is a fun addition to this lineup because he's not somebody you have to bank on for power. He's somebody that can get on and steal a bag. He has been stealing so much lately that he might catch a case. 5K on DraftKings. We saw 3 stolen bases against the Angels. I think he's got more stolen bases in his last 10 games than not stolen bases. He's a guy that can go. So he's going to be a multi-facet tool. If he can hit for average, cool. If he can get on base, cool. If he can draw a walk, cool. And then if he can put some pressure, right? You got a guy like Marte on first base with Matt Olson at the plate. You're kind of thinking about, is Marte running? And you're not focused on making a pitch against Olson. Even more so reason to like Olson. I really like that thought process being a fun handcuff for those two. If I didn't want to full commit to the athletic stack, maybe making a decent correlation rule between having some Marte and Olson, right? So I'm in on the athletics as a stack. I definitely think this park can spoil the upside more often than we would like it, even with Mike Foltynewicz being the pitcher. But give me Marte and Olson as my favorite guys here. Give me Bassett. I don't think I'm touching the Rangers much. Let's see what you guys got in the live chat. Chalk Bassett is gross. Man, is every pitcher chalk? I don't feel like that's not happening. Maybe. I kind of like Wade Miley. Kawhi officially returned to the Clippers. Let's go. What up, Chris Gray? You doing all right? Wade Miley versus Pittsburgh. Why not? I feel like Wade Miley wouldn't get killed, but Wade Miley, like, I mean, I hate the upside of a no-hitter. I don't think Wade Miley's typical positive game is something that is usually giving you a puncher's chance to do damage in a tournament. Maybe you think his floor is high enough and the salary saves enough to go stack those double dongers on a Friday night, go for it. But I don't think Wade Miley checks off all the boxes for me. No matter what, he's in a risky park, and he doesn't really have that strikeout potential to make me feel all warm and fuzzy for playing him, right? Bassett and Burns are chalk gun. Well, you guys also said that Herman Marquez was chalk. So I haven't looked at ownerships, but this is a lot. Maybe we define chalk. What is chalk to you guys? Is it 30, 40, 50%? Somebody put 50% next to Burns' name. This is all unverified. I don't like to look at ownership until after I do some research, and I definitely, like, it's not my, like, I don't do ownership projection, so I don't really share proprietary information without permission. Brubacher gets smashed. Yeah, I definitely think I like the Reds here. Marquez is third. So, yeah, top 3 pitchers. Those are my favorite 3 pitchers. It is what it is. What are you going to do? I don't necessarily think a pitcher does bad just because he's chalk. And there's plenty of ways to separate yourself from a field and leverage the chalk when there's 14 games on the slate. I do think there's a couple other sneaky pitchers today, though. And maybe Adam Wainwright's kind of the guy that gets me a little bit different, and I'm fine with that. But yeah, let's move on to the next game. Padres hosting the D-backs. My former classmate Caleb Smith, he'll be up against this Padres team who will be throwing Ryan Weathers. This is another matchup where we get another lefty versus lefty starting matchup, and neither one of these lefties are particularly dominant. Right, Caleb Smith against righties, 25.8% K rate, up against the 17% K rate of Ryan Weathers against righties. D-backs are really just not a great team. They've been really bad on the road as well. But this version of the D-backs lineup doesn't come with a ton of strikeouts. 1 through 4 of this projected lineup, sub 20% K rate, sub 16% K rate outside of Carson Kelly. So this is really not a fun matchup. What it is a fun matchup for is, could we play some D-backs with some level of confidence? Ketel Marte's missed quite a bit of time, but he was pretty doggone good before he went down, and he's pretty cheap on both sides. If he does lead off where he's projected to hit tonight, 3,600 on DraftKings is even cheaper than his Fanduel counterpart, with a 375 average against lefties in the last 2 years, a high ISO, a 1. OPS, a 4+ bomb rating. Weathers against righties, a 1.74 home run per 9 allowed, 43.5% hard contact rate. I'd be in on that. I'd also be in on catcher Carson Kelly if he's in the top 4 of that lineup. He's got a 288 ISO against lefties with a 988 OPS, and I don't think that's necessarily a product of small sample size. I feel like I remember loving Carson Kelly against lefties before he went down. There's a lot of Kellys in baseball. Let's tighten that up. What'd you say? You're Osmo? Those aren't my projections. Those are Osmo. I don't have any influence on the projections over there. I just analyze baseball. Against lefties in the minors. I don't have any minor numbers this year. So, all right. But Carson Kelly's another guy that can smack some lefties. And then Nick Ahmed, Asdrubal Cabrera. Like, don't get me on a D-back stack, chat, because I'll do it. 1 through 4 of this projected lineup look pretty doggone solid. So I don't think I'm on Ryan Weathers here at 6,100. Probably turns into more of a bullpen game than not. Caleb Smith at 7K is at least interesting because I know he comes with a little bit of strikeout potential. Padres are without Fernando Tatis, but it's still just a dangerous lineup that I'm more inclined to touch the bats in this game than the pitchers. If I want to pick on Caleb Smith, he allows an elevated home run per 9 to righties, a high walk rate, and guys like Manny Machado, Tommy Pham, all guys that can make him pay. Will Myers can make him pay. So I like those guys sticking out for me. And then against lefties is also allowing a 250 average and a 145 home run per 9 and an elevated line drive rate. So I'm looking at this game and I'm seeing the game totals at 8.5 because I like both. The weaknesses of both pitchers here. I might be at least curious with betting the over on 8.5, and then I'll run it back later by stacking this game up a little bit. But I definitely like it. I do think the Padres bullpen is enough to cut this game in half for them if it got in trouble. But the D-backs bullpen is not good. So maybe we have some fun with this game. I'm probably going to avoid both starters here, and that's all I got to say about that. Kind of like the idea of Sandoval versus Dodgers. Yeah, D-backs, that's a great idea. As long as this D-backs lineup looks more like this, because there's definitely several incarnations of this lineup that could come out today. But this one looks pretty nice to me. The Marte, Ahmed, Asdrubal, Carson Kelly, and then any combo past that I don't really care about. But like Cole Calhoun, he's always a chip in a chair, and Christian Walker's kind of fell backwards in terms of his power surge. But there's still at least some realm of possibility for a sub-stack of D-backs to kind of satisfy what I want. Maybe I go after it on the late slate or something, right? With this Rays lineup, maybe Means is in play. I'll go back and check that out in just 1 second. We got one game left on the docket. Take a pause for the cause. Guys, in about 50 minutes, I'll be in the RunDFS.com VIP Discord. If you guys want to join me, go to RunDFS.com. Get yourself signed up. Try out that week pass. That's going to immediately unlock access to the RunDFS.com VIP spreadsheet, the bomb detector, the K factory. If you want to project some strikeouts or some outs, the pitch report, the bullpen usage tab, BVP if you care about that. And then, of course, I'll also be sharing my personal player pool, my tier 1 pitchers, 2s, 3s, my favorite plays at each position, and then, of course, my personal stack exposures. You ain't got to copy this. You ain't got to do what I'm doing. But if you're kind of curious to see where I'm landing versus where you're landing, that's there as well. But otherwise, the tools are accessible to you as well. And then, of course, I like to hang out in the voice chat in our RunDFS.com VIP Discord. So you'd open that up, you scroll down, you click MLB voice, boom, you're there. And there's a couple of us. It usually gets a little hectic in baseball where it just ends up being a LeBron James versus Michael Jordan debate because Raj is Raj. But it's still fun. It's fun times, and we'd love to have you. Main event tonight, the Dodgers hosting the Angels. Patrick Sandoval taking on David Price. Yet another game where two lefties start the action. Patrick Sandoval, 8,300 on DraftKings. He's got a 26% K rate. Two righties with a 30% K rate to lefties. David Price, really probably not somebody we expect to go super deep in this one. So I probably don't get to playing him, but for research sake, we'll double check his recent pitch counts. He got 64-74 against Colorado and San Francisco. So I don't know. I didn't wake up this morning to play David Price. So if you guys are on that, go for it. I'm probably not there, even though the Angels do stink. One thing I noticed this morning about the Angels team is that because Ohtani pitched in the last couple days, he really never had a day off, and this is going into an NL Park, they would lose the DH spot. So I thought this might be one of those spots where we see Ohtani just not in the lineup. Not that it matters what side of the plate he's going against, but lefty-lefty matchup, no DH, and he really hasn't had recovery time since that outing. Maybe there's a strong chance he doesn't crack this lineup. He's not in this projected lineup right now, but he has played the field this year. So don't take that as a pure fact, just something to watch for. And if that's the case, man, this Angels lineup should be one of the weakest teams we've seen in the league. No Ohtani, no Trout, no Rendon, no Jared Walsh. It got bad real quick. Patrick Sandoval, I'll see you guys a little bit curious with him. He's definitely a strikeout guy. 16.4% swing and strike rate on the season, a 27% K rate, expected ERA of 3.33. It's not fun to pitch against the Dodgers, so I understand why people would be hesitant. But if you guys are firing away 100, 150 bullets, or you just got stones of steel, I definitely think he's talented enough to bank on him. And I would really like to see him not be projected at a higher ownership. And I can't imagine that a pitcher against the Dodgers becomes high owned anyway. So I don't mind betting 8,300 DraftKings bucks on him being a solid play because of these metrics. And then if you wanted to pick on him, he doesn't have any glaring weaknesses, right? Keeping the ball on the ground, not giving up a ton of power. Even the Dodgers train is leaving the station here, so I don't mind that. And we've seen the Dodgers be extremely average against lefties. I think they have 100 WRC plus on the season against lefties, which is literally the average. So it could go either way. But I don't mind betting a little bit on Sandoval here, and I also don't mind taking a little bit of a Dodgers if I'm getting them at a low equity as well, because they do have some high ISOs. They added a couple pieces, and this Angels bullpen could get got. So I don't mind playing maybe both sides of that fence if it's going to cost me less than 13% cumulatively of my equity. So I'll get there on that, but I definitely like the idea of betting on Sandoval to do well strikeout wise. I mean, we saw some names that aren't necessarily dominating names do just fine against the Dodgers in the last couple weeks, right? Dodgers kind of like the Yankees, where they feel like they're more of an offensive juggernaut than they have resulted day to day. And yeah, if Sandoval dropped 25 today, I'm not stunned. He's that nasty with it. So give me a little bit of Sandoval, but he wouldn't be like a 3-entry guy for me. He wouldn't be single entry unless I was really, really willing to chill in last place until he took the bump, right? Moose is in the lineup. Let's go. All right, chat. If you guys are just here for some game-by-game analysis, we did hit all the games. So if you are getting out of here, hit that thumbs up. These usually go a little bit longer. I had a little bit more urgency today. No one showed up to fix this pipe. But I'm kind of glad, we got it done really quickly. So hopefully, now that I know that I've been able to give some spins on every game, I can slow it down a little bit, revisit some spots, update some lineups. If you want to chill for a little bit, you can. My goal on these afternoon streams is to be off the air before other people get on the air, especially Awesome. I definitely like you guys to go check them out because information is good, man. You can never have too much information in baseball. So if you are out of here, I appreciate you stopping by on a Friday. Hit that thumbs up before you head out. I will try to have a first look video up in the morning, but I don't think I'm streaming on this channel tomorrow because I think I'm on Osmo tomorrow. So no live stream here tomorrow, but we will be over in live. So if you guys want to interact in that chat, and if you're on Twitter, twitter.com/Gundacker. So appreciate you guys. Those of you guys that are sticking around, let's update some lineups here. And if you guys came up with some hot takes throughout this stream, throw them at me. We did get quite a few lineups, and we'll scroll up. We'll get some bang going, and we'll adjust accordingly. All right, Phillies lineup is out. Odubel Herrera with a rare leadoff spot today, huh? That's new. Gene Segura, Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto, Didi Gregorius, former Yankee great, batting fifth. Alec Boehm in the sixth spot. Brad Miller, seventh, and then Travis Jankowski, the double leadoff here in front of the pitcher spot. That is our Phillies lineup. Does that change much? No, maybe a little bit more pesky at the top, but pure lefty-righty. Don't mind that. Both the Mariners and the Yankees did release lineups. The Mariners lineup, J.P. Crawford, Mitch Haniger, Kyle Seager, Ty France, Abraham Toro, Jake Fraley, Luis Torrens, Jared Kelenic, and Cal Raleigh. That was as projected, so doesn't change much here. Again, we can't really get to Peralta because this is a pure bullpen game. On the Yankee side, DJ LeMahieu, Rizzo, Judge, Stanton, Joey Gallo, Glaber, Odor, Higashioka, and Jonathan Davis. So the exact same lineup, I believe, as yesterday. And that looks to be their lineup against lefties, with Gallo and Stanton switching 4 and 5 based on whether or not the opposing starter is a righty or a lefty. Rays projected lineup. The Rays lineup came out confirmed. It is Luplow. Nelson Cruz is batting second. I don't hate that at all. That's a lot of at-bats in Camden Yards to, take some home run chances. Wander Franco batting third. Perhaps a ribeye spot. Yandy Diaz. Brandon Lau batting fifth. Manuel Margot in the sixth spot. G-Man Choi, former Yankee great. Mike Zunino and Kevin Kiermaier. So that's our Rays lineup. I feel like it's mostly the same names. There are a lot of high strikeout guys, about half and half here. Mentioned the Rays were on pace to set a single season strikeout record, and this is one of the lineups that show why. Brandon Lau has a 39% K rate to lefties since the beginning of last year. G-Man Chori 28%, Mike Zunino 33%, and Kevin Kiermaier 26%. So is John Means a little bit more viable? Maybe. The ironic twist here is 3 of those names are left-handed hitters, and Means' strikeout rate to lefties is just 15.7%. So it almost dips those in half, and you might get stunned here by like an errant Lau or G-Man Choi big swing here. So it doesn't really move the needle for me much. It's against righties where he really picks up some strikeout potential. So that's not going to change much for me. Orioles lineup: Cedric Mullins, Austin Hayes, Trey Mancini, Ryan Mountcastle, Ramon Urias is batting fifth. I don't know if it's Urias or Urias. Anthony Santander is batting sixth. Pedro Severino, Michael Franco, and then Richie Martin is batting 9. Is Richie Martin close enough to Ricky Martin where I could do a she bangs pun? Like, could I say he bangs? I guess I couldn't because I don't know if he has power, but we like to have fun here. Red Sox lineup came out: Kike Hernandez, Alex Verdugo batting second. That's interesting. JD Martinez getting back up in that 3 hole. Xander Bogaerts batting cleanup. Rafael Devers, we saw him bat second. Maybe Alex Cora has a star program in the locker room on who bats second today, because we've seen the two-hole be kind of a carousel lately. Christian Vasquez batting 8th, Franchi Cordero batting 9th. Jonathan Adams says Mountcastle is tearing the cover off the baseball right now. He's been pretty solid, and a couple of these slates, they made you choose between Mancini and Mountcastle, and if you get that one wrong, it hurts, right? Diaz in a slump. All right. Blue Jays lineup: George Springer, Vladdy Jr., Marcus Semien, Bo Bichette, Teoscar Hernandez, Lourdes Gurriel in the 6th hole. 7th spot is Alejandro Kirk. Randall Grichuk is batting 8th, and then Breivik Valera is batting 9th. Not bad. Doesn't change much here. Not bad. Not bad. That's what you want. Pirates lineup is not out. Nothing else is out, right? Nothing. I guess the Braves lineup came out. Braves lineup is a little bit different. Ozzie Albies going to stay in that leadoff spot. Was hoping maybe we get Jock Jams up there. Freddie Freeman batting 3rd. Austin Riley, especially since Peterson homered yesterday. I thought that was a good sign. And then you're like, all right, we'll put him back in the leadoff spot against righties. But it didn't happen. 7th spot's going to be Doc Peterson, Stephen Vogt. Oh, the power, the protection of Stephen Vogt in the on deck circle while you're in the batter's box. So that's our Braves lineup. The same names, just different order. I'm still there on the Braves stack. I was just kind of hoping Jock Peterson would be up there. But yeah, it's Eric Fetty. It's the Nats bullpen. I'm there. Twins lineup was already out. I do like some of these Twins bats here. Giants lineup did come out. Does this lineup get any more menacing against the ace of the slate, Corbin Burns, Lamont Wade Jr., Brandon Bell batting 2nd. Interesting. Buster Posey in the 3 spot. Brandon Crawford in the cleanup spot. Chris Bryant, the newly acquired Chris Bryant, downgraded, demoted even to the 5 hole. That's something. Mike Yastrzemski batting 6th. What am I looking at? What? Alex Dickerson batting 7th. Holy, bro! They have 2 lineups in one. This is weird. This is different. Tommy La Stella is a lefty. All right, so this lineup is definitely it's a little different. The K rates definitely subside a little bit. For something here I want to look at is K Factory. Corbin Burns, let's give him 90 pitches against this lineup. What does the math spit out? 90 pitches spits out 8 strikeouts. So still plenty of strikeout potential based in the projections. Royals lineup is out. Any surprises? Whit Merrifield, Santana, Salvador Perez, Ryan O'Hearn batting cleanup over Benintendi, Hunter Dozier batting 5th, Emmanuel Rivera batting 6th, Gerard Dyson batting 7th, Nicky Lopez batting 8th. So I'll tell you what, I kind of like this lineup even more so for Wainwright. Power dips a little bit at the bottom. Nice little strikeout lane, but I could definitely see 7 innings strong here. I wonder what his out projection would be. If we can get him under 21, I might be an investor on that. Cardinals lineup did not come out. And that's it, man. That's all the lineups here. Any hot takes, chat? Anything crazy that you guys are on that maybe we weren't able to pay some love to, let me know. I'll get caught up on chat here. Otherwise, man, I really have to say thank you guys. Since we've really kind of committed to content this week, I've seen really immediate growth in terms of views and subscribers on a day-to-day basis. So that's got me excited because football's in a month, basketball's in the back end of October, and we can maybe take this channel to even higher heights that it was in. Yandy Diaz in a slump. Boom. They got Moose price at 6,200. Yeah, Moose is pretty doggone expensive. Did I get the Reds lineup typed in? I know you guys said it was out, but I didn't see it. Let me refresh my labs page. Maybe I missed it on that. I did foreshadow the possibility of, yeah, we did. All right, so let me get that typed in because I was already on the red stack, but Moose only makes it a little bit stronger, and he has hit a bomb in his couple of rehab at bats. India, Winker, Castellanos, Votto, Moustakas. If you play Moustakas and Joey Votto on DraftKings, you're putting over 12K between the two. Like, they really juiced Moustakas' price point. I'm not gonna say for no reason, but man, they didn't even let him be 5K. So that's our Reds lineup. What else we got? What up, Quinn? Rich homie Quinn? You doing all right? They got moves. What about Greinke? I don't think I ever play Greinke in DFS unless it's like a can't miss spot. For the most part, though, he just seems like a contact pitcher at this day and age, and he really has some righty problems. And there's a couple Twins I actually like today, so I'm probably not there on Greinke. Houston lineup came out. Thank you, Jonathan. John. I never know whether they're called Jonathans, Johns, or not. Astros lineup. Anything different? Altuve, Brantley, Yordan. So Gurriel's going to be out again. Yordan Alvarez. Anybody catch his lefty on lefty homer at the end of that game last night? Smoked it. Absolutely destroyed it. Chas McCormick, 7 spot. Taylor Jones cracks the lineup, 8 spot here today. Not much change. This is still just like a dirty lineup with OPS and ISO. Cardinals lineup is out. Look at you guys. Cardinals. So I was never really on the Cardinals stack, but I guess maybe the Cardinals would weigh whether or not you guys had interest in Mike Minor. I don't think I have imminent interest in Mike Minor. But again, it's one of those spots where those middling pitchers, I wouldn't point and laugh no matter what, right? If you played Minor and he got blown up, I'm not gonna say I told you so. If you played Minor, and he went off, like, it's just one of those spots where it's almost more of a gut spot than anything. I try not to get committed to AL pitchers in the NL just because their bats liable to get yanked early, but Royals not really playing for much, so they could just be trying to get through baseball games. Carlson, Goldie, Arenado, Tyler O'Neill, Molina, Harrison Bader, Paul DeYoung. So literally as projected. And then we have a Rockies lineup. Man, these lineups are just firing away. Rockies, Tapia, Brendan Rodgers, Blackman, Story. This Story hit 2 bombs yesterday. Might be on a little bit of might be a little locked in. Ryan McMahon's batting 5th. CJ Crone is batting 6th. Elias Diaz and Sam Hilliard. So not that this is a good lineup, but it's definitely a lineup that we've seen kind of come through in the right spots lately. So maybe it's a little bit tougher than perception for those of us that might have some loose interest in Alcantara. Maybe we just grit our teeth and bear just a little bit more, but a nice lane of high ISO. Blackman to CJ Crone, 197 or better ISO ratings, and then Sam Hilliard, for some reason, is on a power stretch. Hedge, though, with some Twins. Yeah, if you're going to get to Greinke, like, that's another one of those guys. If you think Greinke is just a professional pitcher to get through 7 innings, 4 or 5 strikeouts and a win, wouldn't talk you off that ledge. I don't really like to talk anyone off of any ledge. If you're on somebody, I trust you guys to have a reason for it. I'm just here, kind of giving my where I'm probably going to be or where I'm at right now. Lots of Mitch Haniger one-off. I think if you stacked Mariners, I wouldn't hate you. And then, of course, Mitch Haniger is easily their best player. Haniger, by the way, sent one to the wall last night off of Chapman, and I was ready to blow up the season because we had corners on, Haniger at the plate. Jonathan Loáisiga was warming up in the bullpen with 2 outs, and I was just like, if you're warming up Jonathan Loáisiga, it's the panic button, right? It's the punch the glass, get the fire extinguisher, all hell's broke loose. With corners on and a righty at the plate being Mitch Haniger, what is the scenario you're waiting on to get Loáisiga in the game? They didn't put him in the game. They let Chapman try to get Haniger out, and Haniger really just missed one by a couple feet. So I definitely wouldn't mind putting that bat against Juan De Peralta, but I also don't think you're crazy to go grab more than just Haniger. I think if you ended up with Kyle Seager, Ty France, Haniger, guys like that, there's plenty of playable Mariners. Even Jared Kelenic got in on the action yesterday. Yesterday it was a pure Yankee home run, a Yankee Stadium home run for Kelenic. I believe it was measured as only a home run in Yankee Stadium. But hey, man. The short porch giveth and the short porch taketh away, right? Favorite team today, Cincy or the Yankees? Man, that's a tough one for me to answer, Josh. I feel like you know which way I'm gonna lean. Just Marco Gonzalez is just literally a Yankee Stadium dream for a high power offense. Favorite pitcher on Fanduel. So for Fanduel, I still respect strikeouts quite a bit. But I also do like innings because you don't get tagged for being inefficient, right? You're not getting negatives for walks or hits allowed. You're just getting innings pitched, strikeouts, and if you can grab that quality start and win, I'm in on that too. So I kind of like Bassett and Wainwright still to kind of give me the highest floor based on them having the propensity to go deep into game 7 innings in super plus pitcher parks, and not impossible to grab a strikeout per inning along the way. Maybe I project him to get just under a strikeout per inning, but I'm still fine with it. Course just released. Did we get the other side as well? The Marlins. I didn't get Marlins, but I'll refresh it. Maybe we'll have the lineups before lock. Yeah, yesterday was nice, right? Brubacher worse versus lefties or righties. So Brubacher actually allows a lot of power to both, but I think he is overall worse to righties. But I'll tie that down for you. 253 average to lefties, 234 to righties. A higher xFIP to lefties, but the power to both sides of the plate is what we're trying to focus on. 183 home run per 9 to lefties, 193 to righties, and that's just what we're chasing in Great American Ballpark is who's going to throw one over the wall. And there's a lot of 230 plus ISOs against righties in this 2 through 5 lane of Winker, Castellanos, Vados, and Moustakas, and Jonathan India has been tearing it up just as much, so I don't mind that. You like Manning today for Detroit? I did not have him on my radar. No, there's nothing there. Like, at least yesterday I did end up with Ross Stripling against the Indians a little bit more than I thought I would, just because Jose Ramirez wasn't in the lineup. But at least Ross Stripling had like 20+% K rates, 11% with a 7% swing and strike rate. Like, there's just no redeeming qualities, right? You can't really erase earned runs with this type of stuff. So no, sir, I probably do not like Manning today. Cleveland lineup did drop while we're here. Miles Straw, Ahmed Rosario, Jose Ramirez, Bobby Bradley. So it looks like no Franmil Reyes in this lineup. So a little less power, but also one of the strikeout guys. But I don't care because I'm not playing Matt Manning. Owen Miller, Austin Hedges is batting 8th, and then Ernie Clement in the 9th spot. So this is a lineup that exists. 203, 226, 136, 178, 238 batting average. Only 2 guys in this lineup with a 200 plus ISO. So as much as Franmil did offer some strikeout potential, he did also offer some power. So this is basically Jose Ramirez and Bobby Bradley. Bradley, by the way, at 19% barrel rate when he's not striking out. Maybe this is a spot where Bradley doesn't strike out, and 2,500 on Fanduel might be a little too cheap. Yeah, I know. Marco Gonzalez, 3.8 ERA last 5 road starts, and that included a game in Coors. ERA is not predictive. We go through this all the time, Sean. Don't come in here and give me results based. I typed Sean, by the way. You didn't pop up. Don't give me results, right? We go to the game log, and if you really want to sample size 5 games, a short stretch of games, go to the game log. And there's a couple things I want you to look at. 1 is BABIP, 2 is xFIP, 3 is like LOB percentage, stuff like that. So we look at his last couple games. xFIP against Texas, fine, whatever. It's Texas. A 5.3 xFIP, a 5.32 xFIP against Oakland with a 3.18 ERA. A little bit on the lucky side, 2.35 BABIP, 6.25 xFIP at Coors, at Colorado, with a 92% left on base rate. At the Angels, 5.45. Or hosting Texas again, 7.72 xFIP. So it's safe to say, or at least it's mathematically supported to say he was a little bit on the lucky side. So also in those games, and what we're trying to focus on today is the fly ball hard contact rate, right? 47, 46, 47, 57%, and then the hard contact rate, 39, 37, 36. So that's all we care about against the Yankees. Is he going to let fly balls up? Is he going to let hard contact go? Yes, okay. Give me Stanton. No Reyes. Padres or Braves stack? That's an excellent question. I think Braves is kind of the one that's a little bit more friendly and juicy to me just because of the park and them being as hot as they are. The Padres could have a park that suppresses them, and Caleb Smith does have an ability to be a 1-4 strikeout guy. So I'm personally on the Braves over the 2. But I think the D-backs and the Padres, both teams individually have potential to have solid upside games because of the starting matchups, right? Boom, man, you guys are on fire, chat. Where is this? Where is this every day? Just firing away questions. I feel like I can vibe out here. But that's it. Yeah, no, I'm not playing like Marco Gonzalez. F out of here. Who are your top starting pitchers for DK GPP today? So if I was going to start my tiers out, and this could be changing in an hour or two, but I feel like my tier 1 guys, meaning the guys I want the most exposure to, Florida ceiling ratio is probably going to be Chris Bassett and Wainwright, as insane as that sounds. And then I was thinking German Marquez might hit the mix for me. And then in the bottom end, the up to 8, up to 12% guys, I probably will allow some exposure to Alcantara. I think I'll start Patrick Sandoval off as a tier 3 just because he has that strikeout stuff. And then Corbin Burns might contend here. Like, I don't think I end up with 3 tier 1 guys. These are just like the rough draft. Corbin Burns is gonna be in the mix, but I don't have the warm and fuzzies here. I also like Logan Webb, so I'm gonna have a nice mixture of pitching today. But also, please be advised, like, I'm running 150 lineups. I get to make a little bit more dangerous plays than I would ever make in like 20 lineups or less. Kyle Muller, another guy that's probably going to be in my player pool as well. Just thinking on actual pitchers that I would play, like just to have some exposure of Alek Manoah and maybe Eovaldi, but probably not. Like, these are some guys that would make the chopping block for me, and I don't think there's any other pitcher on this slate. I don't think I get to Stroman, even though like I wouldn't hate you for it. So I think these names are the only pitchers I'm starting with, and then I chop this up. Some of these guys might get cut, some of these guys might get upgraded or downgraded, and so on and so forth. But this is probably where I'm at in terms of my pitching pool right now. Right now, Gallo got some BVP. Stop it! Get some help. Your Yankees sucked last night. Sure. I mean, Tyler Anderson, whatever. By the way, Tyler Anderson was clearly cheating. Like, he kept going to his hat. I guess we're over that. Like, we don't care anymore if pitchers are using sticky stuff. But there were some good looks there. Tyler Anderson, kind of a funky delivery. If you guys haven't actually watched Tyler Anderson pitch, he's got like a double leg kick. It kind of reminds me of like when Kershaw would leave a leg dangling, but it's like he does it twice. How's the bomb detector looking? Incredible question. So now that we have a bunch of confirmed lineups, let's refresh the bomb detector, double check, confirm, and then sort it Z through A. And I'll give you guys a peek at it. I'll also try and tweet it out again later, twitter.com/Gundacker. Aaron Judge, as always, at the tippy top, 4.55 bomb rating. What I like to look for in the bomb detector is who's got like a 4+ rating and who's got decent sample size next to this 4+ rating. Matt Olson, a 4.5 rating against Mike Fultonevich. We talked about that. Mitch Garver, Nelson Cruz in the 2 spot on the road. Could have 5-6 at-bats. Carson Kelly, sneaky catcher. People might forget he exists. He was smacking lefties just as well. And then a couple of scarier names, Luplo, Chapman, Sano, Zunino. Remember, this is all from batted ball data since the beginning of last year. So guys that have been a little worse this year, guys with elevated ground ball rates, still might overproject, but I am a fan of sample size. So I do like the top. Like, yeah, you give me Judge, Olson, Garver, Cruz, and even Carson Kelly, but you can't play 2 catchers on DK, obviously. You give me that 4 in a lineup, I'm chilling. We're firing away, man. We're ready to run through a wall. Eric says, Gun, are you going to run 5-man stacks on a slate this big on DraftKings? Yeah, honestly, for me, the bigger the slate, the more likely I am to run 5-man stacks, because the more, I don't say the more likely, but the more teams on a slate, the more likely a team is going to lap the field and have a laugher and drop a football score. So yeah, I like to run 5-man stacks on the big slates. It's those small slates, those 4-game slates where I actually might downsize a little bit more to 4 or less. So yeah, tonight is definitely a 5-man night. And I said it yesterday, I love when there's several pitching options. That allows me to be a little bit more focused for DraftKings, because it is lazier and easier, but also perhaps more efficient to run 5-man stacks. And then it's just you're hoping to get the right one-offs, right? Our boy Fish hit big the other night with a 5-man Philly stack that had George Springer. So the one-offs are just as important. That's it, man. That's it. We done? We're vibing? Chat, if you want to do me a solid before you get out of here, this was a really good stream. I appreciate you guys. Did you hit that thumbs up? Double check that you're subscribed. Maybe hit that notifications bell. And if you guys really want to support the channel, we've opened up that membership program. Hit that join button below. I've got a couple of members-only videos, some lineup strategy stuff that we wrote that we were going to record last night. But the pipes busted, so hopefully I get those taped up tonight, and we'll get that going forward, man. A lot of cool stuff. So the videos that I want to point out for tonight is, not tonight, but I want to record is my favorite strategy for 20 entry max and my favorite strategy for 3 entry max in terms of lineup construction, creating a simple set of rules to follow, which will expedite the process and make it more streamlined and efficient, right? This is a game of data, and paralysis by analysis exist. Those strategies are created to make it real fast. You know what you look for, and it creates a formula to go for. So check that out. If you are a member of the channel, you also get that badge next to your name. Have some fun, man. I love you guys. I'll catch you guys on the first look video tomorrow. Then I'm on Osmo over the weekend. Then we'll be back for the live streams on Monday, man. Good luck. God bless. And go win some money.